Hello, everyone. How are you? We see attendees coming in. Welcome. Looks like we're going to have a good turnout today. See the numbers climbing here. Welcome, welcome. All right, so hello, everyone. My name is Rianne, and I am with the San Diego Law Library. And today we have Jon Shaw and JC with Trellis. And just thank you all for being here. Thank you, Jon and JC, and thank you for the attendees. So today, Jon is going to talk about the Trellis database that we have here available at the library. And if you are a borrower, you can access the database from home. And so before we get started, I'd like to go over a few bits of housekeeping. First thing, this is a CLE presentation. And for those of you watching live today, you will get a certificate of attendance from the library by email once we verify who actually attended. If you are attending today's session by phone, and you would like CLE credit, please send us an email with your name and phone number as soon as this class is over so that we can document that you did participate today. Also, if you are watching a recording of this video on YouTube, unfortunately, we do not provide a certificate for recordings, but you can access the self-study log on the State Bar's website, and there is a link in the description box below. All right, so back to those who are watching live on Zoom today. This is an interactive session, and you can ask questions by using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. You'll see the icon with two little speech bubbles. Under the Q&A function, you can ask questions with your name or anonymously, whichever you feel more comfortable with. We hope to get to most of the questions by the end of the presentation. And finally, at the end of the session, you will see a link for a survey. So if you can, please just take a moment to fill it out, and we would greatly appreciate your feedback. Well, all right, that's all from me, and I'm going to turn things over to Jon.
All right, thanks so much for that, Rianne. Hey, everybody, good to see you all. Go ahead and share my screen. All right, everybody can see my screen. Let's go hop over here. All right, so good to see you all today. My name is Jon Shaw, Customer Success Manager with Trellis. I'm also a licensed attorney in the state of Maryland. Prior to joining Trellis, I handled some labor and employment, some family law matters there. So today I'm going to show you some best practices, tips, and tricks for how to navigate use cases for Trellis. You'll get CLE credit for your attendance. All right, Trellis is a state trial court analytics platform that will assist you in strategizing and performing research. We focus specifically on civil cases, so there will not be access to criminal case dockets on the platform. Additionally, while we currently do not have federal court information on our UI, we will begin to have some federal court data Q1 of 2025. All right. So first thing I want to point out about us, the difference between Trellis and county court websites. All right. How do you usually search on county court websites? It's usually what? Party name, case number, never by keyword though, right? On Trellis, we're jumping in county by county for every state we cover, aggregating all their case data and making it keyword searchable using any words or numbers you'd like. When you run a search on Trellis, you'll be searching the face of the court docket. It includes docket entry descriptions, case details, party section, judge section, etc. Additionally, if your court makes documents publicly available, you'll simultaneously be searching inside those filed documents. All right, so for today's CLE, we're going to be going over various topics, starting with our judge ruling history and analytics. It's how you can use Trellis to better understand your judge. We'll then go over digging into parties, law firms, and attorneys. And then some final topics will include some little tidbits on strategic research, like expert settlement data and how you can use Trellis to draft motions more efficiently and more tailored to your judge or your opposing counsel. We'll leave some time at the end also for Q&A. So all that said, let's start with your very first use case, which is digging into your judge. All right. When digging into your judge on Trellis, you can laser into and drill down into some really interesting insights on them. You can figure out how do they think about particular legal issues that are relevant to your case. All right. You can dig into motions they ruled on, case law statutes they find binding and persuasive, as well as digging into the actual motions they've granted or denied. See what's been successful before them, What language do they use in their rulings? What's their style in particular? All this information, it's stuff that we attorneys typically have learned in speaking with our coworkers or with our personal experience with the judge. On Trellis, you can dig into all of that, broaden your wealth of knowledge when it comes to your judge. All right, so let's go hop in the platform now. All right, this is the Trellis homepage. Before we jump into searching a judge, I want to show you that a lot of people like to first start with the judge's dashboard, dig into their analytics. That's a great feature we have. Simply click on this analytics button up top, click Judge Analytics. This opens up our judge directory. Since we're doing this with San Diego Law Library, we're going to hop into our comprehensive judge directory for California. All right, today I'm just going to pick on Judge Bernard Barman, Kern County Superior Court, California. All right. Now, if we have enough data, there will be 5 tabs that pop up. The reason I say if we have enough data is if there's a recent appointee to the bench or a new judge or anything like that, we necessarily won't have enough data to provide a comprehensive analytics dashboard for them. But at a bare minimum, there will be a biography tab on that judge. So we can see here, we have our 5 tabs that have popped up. So we have enough data for a full portfolio for Judge Barman. Start off with this biography tab. We're going to list where they currently preside, where they've presided in the past, their education history, if they were a practicing attorney, where they practiced, for how long, hobbies, political affiliations, interests, anything really here in this tab to let you get to know your judge better, both as a person and as a professional. All right. Second tab, at a glance tab. This displays high-level metrics on your judge. Active cases, average case length, motion grant rate, verdict for plaintiff, verdict for defendant. To give these raw numbers some perspective, we do compare them against other judges in the county, other judges in the state. Down below here, we can see case practice area breakdown. What this shows me, as a litigator, is it tells me what cases are predominantly coming before Judge Barman, right? And clicking here into our practice area pie, we'll populate our matter type pie over here. So I can see predominantly automobile torts cases are the ones that are coming before Judge Barman. I know that if I have an automobile torts case before Judge Barman, I don't need to put in that much work and beef up my motion work that much with black letter law. He's got it handled from here. However, let's say I have a property case before Judge Barman, an eminent domain property case. Well, a few of those come across his desk, but not too many. So I'm going to want to beef up my motion work with some black letter law explanation, really make my case. All right, moving on from here, our motions tab. All right, this is going to display a list of motions. It's going to show their partial grant rate, their grant rate, and their denial rate. All right, we can see all the list of the motions here on the left. Grant rate, denial rate, partial grant rate. Again, compared against other judges in the county, other judges in the state, we can see here when it comes to demurrer motions in particular, Judge Barman is a bit more lenient than other judges in the county and in the state. Lets you know how many resources or how much resources you want to commit to an endeavor of a particular motion. Decide for yourself if it's worth it or not. Set expectations accordingly with your client. All right, outcomes tab. It's exactly what it sounds like. Note that this defaults to all practice areas, but by all means, you can filter further by practice area and then matter type. All right, here, outcomes tab, it's displaying, how are these cases being disposed of before Judge Barman, the percent that's dismissed, percent that's active, consolidated, relief denied, summary judgment, etc. All right. Last tab, case milestones tab. Again, defaults to all practice areas, but you can filter by practice area and by matter type as well. So this may be the most simple looking dashboard that we have here, but it's the most important. I'll get into that in a second. This may be the most important, depending on your use case. But what this displays is timing analyses for your judge. How long are these cases taking before your judge? All right. So if all of this information is useful to you, go in here, click generate report, generate it for whoever you'd like. We'll automatically throw in the judge bio, the judge at a glance tabs, and then you can select from here a la carte, throw in whatever you'd like from the other 3 tabs. All right, click generate PDF report, take it with you, very easy. All right, so why did I mention that timing analyses was that important, right? Well, what I would advocate using these metrics for is to set client expectations, right? When it comes to expectations, that's lockstep with timing, right? That's the number one thing that clients are going to care about. Why? Because as a case takes more and more time, that's more and more money that they are spending, right? They're going to get more and more impatient as the case drags on. So what you can do is navigate to the case milestones tab, use it where convenient to show, hey, Judge Barman takes on average, let's just say he took a lot longer than other judges in the county and in the state. Let's say Judge Barman took, 900 days, right? A few hundred more than other judges in the county and the state. We're still 140 days away from that mark. So let's adjust expectations accordingly. We're giving you that hard data to support your assertions to your client, give automatic credibility to the expectations that you will be setting. All right. So now let's go ahead. Let's get into some actual judge research itself. All right. Go back to our home page right here. Go back to our smart search. Before we get into running any search, I do want to point out we can select our jurisdiction in question right here. And when we click into our smart search bar, we're going to get these two tabs that pop up, right? First tab, summary list of our Boolean operators and filters. At the bottom, we have a link that goes much more in depth. It's much more instructive on how to successfully use these operators and filters. I'm sure you all are veteran researchers, but the reason I do bring this up is that we do differ a bit from other research platforms with our operators and filters. For instance, our proximity connector, on other platforms, it's usually a /P/S, right? In Trellis, it's a squiggly thing called a tilde right there. So you do a tilde and a number. So it'll be tilde 3, that'd be, this word within X words of that word, within 3 words of that word, right? So just make sure to familiarize yourself with these different operators and filters. Second tab, advanced search tab. This feature is really cool, teaches you in real time how to successfully use our operators and filters, gets you up to speed really quickly. So we have our proximity connector section right here, as I was just mentioning, judge section, party section, all of these things. I recommend using this when onboarding Trellis. Just helps you become much more familiarized and, hit the ground running. So let's say we're going to go ahead, run a search for Judge Barman, automatically populated judge, open quotes, Barman, close quotes. And we can go ahead, select our jurisdiction to California. Right, we'll go ahead and run our search. All right, so can see that we have about 3,800 dockets, 65,000 documents. It's a lot of data to parse through, right? What are my recommendations on drilling down and finding what we're looking for? Well, first, of course, we can search within right here. We can go party. We could, filter it by party that comes before Judge Barman. Let's say I wanted to see all cases where Walmart is a defendant before Judge Barman. I can go ahead and I can locate cases that way and narrow things down. Can also toggle only cases with documents. I can look at PAGA, complex class action. I can filter by practice area. So let's say we go ahead and let's filter by practice area. Let's filter by torts, right? Because there's a big automobile torts judge. So we can filter by torts, and then matter type is going to subsequently populate, right? So then we can go ahead, go automobile torts. So now in just 2 clicks of a button, we've gone down, tens of thousands of dockets, tens of thousands of documents themselves, right? So it really allows us to drill down very quickly. All right. One thing I do want to note, the practice area, matter type filters, and the couple other filters that I will show you, these are actually created, classified, and maintained by Trellis. We have over 42 million dockets now on the platform, over 225 million documents on the platform. We're classifying all these things on a rolling basis, right? So is every single document going to be classified in this manner to these filters? No, it's not possible. But what I recommend using these filters for is if you're looking to find an example of what you're looking for, they're great at just narrowing things in, grabbing what you're looking for. But if you're looking for the entire pool of data, and we'll get into that in a bit, I recommend using the smart search bar and then using these filters subsequently. I'm going to go ahead and clear these filters. Also, I do want to note, you can hop in the documents tab and we have different filters there, right? So I want to talk about what these 4 different tabs are really briefly before I navigate to that tab. Rulings tab. These are tentative rulings. These are hyper-specific to the state of California. Typically, these are removed from the county court website after 24 hours. However, on Trellis, we maintain them permanently free, live, and searchable for you to peruse at your leisure. Dockets tab, searching the face of the court dockets. Documents tab, that's where you're going to see those regular rulings, those final orders, motions, documents, etc. All right. So let's go ahead and navigate there. And then our verdicts tab is high-level verdict data. All right, so documents tab, what filters can we use here to filter down even further? So we're still going to have the practice area matter type filters that we had up earlier before on the dockets level tab, right? But here we're also going to have some different filters now. We're going to have motion type filters. we're also going to have entry type filters as well. All right, so we can see these practice area matter type filters. We can see motion type filters right there. You can also see these entry type filters. So think of these as a type of document that we're looking for, right? So if I want to see complaint related documents before Judge Barman, or if I want to see motion related documents, orders, I can go ahead, click apply, get access to all of that data. All right. So let's go ahead. Let's jump back in here really briefly. All right. Now you take things a step further, right? So I was mentioning before, what do you want to do if you want your entire pool of data? Well, you can go ahead and you can add case dispositive issues to the search, really narrow in and drill down into what you're looking to find with your judge searching, right? So let's hop back in here into the platform really briefly. Let's say we want to look up Judge Barman, we can look up a cause of action that comes before Judge Barman, right? Let's say breach of contract. We can look up Judge Barman and breach of contract, run that search, see how he handles that cause of action. All right. We can keep adding to this too. We can look up Judge Barman and breach of contract and say a legal issue. Not even a legal issue. Right now, let's just say we're looking for a particular motion type, right? Look up Judge Barman, breach of contract, see how he handles summary judgment motions that come before him in breach of contract cases. What arguments does he find impressive? Which ones fail? You can either distinguish the facts of your case or take it as a motion bank and use that to be able to be successful before Judge Barman, right? Also, anytime you see a link where you see the judge's name, you can click right in there. It'll take you to the at a glance tab in the Judge Analytics dashboard. All right. Similarly, anytime we see a link to the case name or case docket, you can click on that in the documents tab. It'll take you right to the underlying docket. You can see everything else that's associated. All right. So let's look at one of Judge Barman's dockets. I can show you what data we have for him in particular at the docket level now that I've touched on that. All right. So let's just look up Judge Barman breach of contract. I'll just hop in one of these here on the docket tab because that's where we're searching again from the face of the court dockets. And then we'll go ahead and we'll see what we have on the docket level. Just going to go pick the first one, Geronimo v. Medina. All right. So first off, up top, we can see when the case was last updated. We can see this was a day ago. Maybe it's good enough. Maybe it's not. If you'd like, you can go ahead and click update case information now. It's an automated process, 10 to 15 minutes at the longest. But if the court website is down or slow, or there's some sort of other issue, we'll keep retrying that process for up to 24 hours. All right. Additionally, one thing to note is that while other platforms do charge for refreshes, we do not. So just one good thing to keep in mind, by all means, feel free to refresh as many cases as you'd like. All right. So scrolling down further, we can see case details. These are the details provided by the court on the face of the complaint. We're just trying to give you some of that docket metadata here. All right. Down here, we can see the case complaint summary. That way you can just dive in really quick, see a snippet of your case, determine whether it is the case that you're looking for, or if you're just doing general research, see if the facts of the case match up with what you're looking for. All right. Scroll down, we can see the parties field. All right. We're going to list the parties field exactly the way the courts list the parties. If you search in different jurisdictions, you know that courts are all over the place when it comes to this parties field. Some of them go first name, then last name. Some go last name, then first name. Sometimes there's a middle initial. Sometimes when they're talking about attorneys, they'll reference the attorney, sometimes just a law firm. It's a bit chaotic, but Trellis is jumping in. We're doing the hard work of standardizing, streamlining your ability to search here so that you can look multi-jurisdictionally across all of this information despite these differences. All right. Case documents. We're going to list all the documents in the case right here. Latest case changes. Go ahead and see access to that. And then down here, we have this really interesting filter that is our case events. So you can use this filter bar right here, search by keyword. You'll be searching the face of the docket and the face of these case events, and you can find associated documents with each particular case event. So let's say I've looked up the complaint right here. You can go ahead and see all of the docket events that have to do where the complaint is mentioned, right? So we can find our actual complaint itself. All right. So we can see the first amended complaint here, and then we can see the first complaint right there. All right. So this brings me to my next point, which I want to talk about documents on Trellis and getting access to documents on Trellis. So here we can see view document. It's very intuitive. You can click in. We already have the document live on the platform. You can click in, download it, take it with you as a PDF. Easy. However, if you see get document, this means the document isn't downloaded onto our platform just yet, but not to worry. It's very easy to add a document to the platform. As I understand it, your account with San Diego Law Library, that's a shared account. So with these documents, you'll see a get document button. So what will happen is you'll click get document, and then it will just give you a preview saying, hey, this document costs $9.99. Would you like to proceed, or $7.99, etc. Right? We're just doing pass-through pricing there. We're not upcharging or anything like that. So you can go ahead, enter in whatever you'd like, go get your document. We try to turn those around very quickly. All right. One other note about documents on the platform is that we are a crowdsourced library. All right. Every time somebody clicks get document, we're adding that document permanently to our system, making it free, live, and searchable for everyone moving forward. Only one Trellis user ever has to click get document. It's then permanently available to all users and will appear then subsequently with the tag view document instead. So everybody's benefiting from every document request that you submit. Likewise, you benefit from every document request that everybody else submits. All right. So one other thing I do want to mention is you may see this track case changes button right there. Those are docket update alerts that you can set, but as you are on a shared account, there will not be access to alerts at this time. All right. Just wanted to point that out for that feature. Right now, additionally, let's go back in. Let's talk about our next topic. Party research, opposing counsel research. So you can use Trellis to dig into your judge. You can use Trellis also to dig into your own client or the opposing party, see how they do things, see how cases are being handled. All right. How many cases do they have? If they're opposing a motion, what might their reply argue? What case law do they rely on for specific legal issues? How do their cases typically go? When do they settle? How often do their cases go to trial? It's pretty simple. All right, so we're going to look up how you can search motions and briefs by opposing counsel, how they'll position specific issues, and draft a reply before moving papers are filed. Let's go back into the platform. So if we're going to go ahead and look up, opposing counsel on the platform, it's very straightforward. We can just type the name in the smart search bar, right? So let's say we want to look up a law firm. Let's say this law firm is Lewis Brisbois. All right, run that search. You're going to see all of their data. It's again, docket level, searching the face of the docket, document level, searching inside the file documents. All right. Now, if you're looking up an attorney name, and this applies for looking up names in general, you're going to want to use that proximity connector that I was touching on earlier. Right. Now, why use that proximity connector? Well, let's say we're looking up Jeremiah Webb. Pardon me. Let's say we're looking up Jeremiah Webb. Works at Lewis Brisbois. We can run his search for his name, but we're going to be missing a lot of data. And why is that? That's because of what I was mentioning earlier with how courts are all over the place when it comes to multi-jurisdictional searching, right? Sometimes they're going first name and last name. Sometimes they're going last name and then first name. Sometimes they're including a middle initial. Sometimes not. Particularly when it comes to attorneys, they're all over the place. So if you're looking up opposing counsel, make sure to use this proximity connector, all right? So we get what? 139 dockets, 777 documents. Let's just say we throw that tilde and a 3, right? So Jeremiah within 3 words of Webb. See how much this adds to our results. All right. So we added on about 300 dockets, a few thousand documents. That's just throwing that proximity connector. So just to show you, an example of how you can mess out on data on the platform, make sure if you're looking up opposing counsel, use that proximity connector. All right. So, and of course, like any other search, we can go ahead and combine in other terms like breach of contract, summary judgment, and so on and there forth. All right. Now, say we want to look up parties on the platform. All right. Parties, litigant, defendant, pretty standard. Let's say that we have a client. Say the client is, Elon Musk, right? We can go ahead, do Elon Musk, run that search. We're not going to be pulling in too much data right now, right? This is because it's just going and running that search. It may be pulling instances where this name is mentioned tangentially in dockets and documents where he's not necessarily an active litigant in that docket. So what we can do here is use our party filter. You can just apply party : and then put the name in of whatever you would like. I actively recommend using this for litigants, but when it comes to attorneys, use that proximity connector. right? So we can see here we cut out about 400 documents where Elon Musk was not a litigant to the action, and then that would just cause duplicative time, right? So let's go ahead and let's talk about corporate clients now. So that was an individual litigant. It's the exact same thing for corporate litigants. We can go ahead, we can look up Uber Technologies, can run that search for them, right? Very standard, but again, pulling in too much data. So if we want to make sure that we cut down the amount of tangential documents that are just mentioning Uber Technologies, right? We can go ahead and add that party filter. We're at 66,000 documents before this, cut out about 9,000 documents overall. Just these little tips and tricks with using the operators and filters on our platform so that you can be much more successful and avoid duplicative work. So let's hop back to our presentation here. Let's talk about strategic trial court research. All right, we've already touched upon it a bit, but you can use Trellis to perform strategic legal research by looking within filed documents, right? This can assist you with any number of things: motion drafting, evaluating expert witnesses, or looking at verdict data. All right, so as I said, you can search the body and text of those filed trial court documents. All right, you can search by legal issue, motion type, outcome, judge, case type, whatever you'd like. Very accessible. All right, now as we did with our judge research, you can conduct searches looking for a party, cause of action, and type of document to get to the specific document you're looking for. All right, let's run a search to demonstrate what I mean. All right, so let's say we're running a search for motion, summary judgment, right? Find ourselves a good template to follow from. Can run that search and then dive deeper by adding that cause of action. Let's say negligence, right? Let's just say throwing in motion summary judgment and negligence. Drill down to more relevant results. Now, from here, we could drill down even further, right? Can add an illegal issue like statute of limitations. Go ahead, add that in there and further drill down. All right. Now we have a wealth of options to peruse to look at what arguments were made on the topic, whether or not the judge found them persuasive, and how they can be distinguished from the facts of our case. This would be how I'd recommend looking up particular motion templates on the platform. Remember, we are keyword searchable, so it's very accessible to go ahead and look up and find the particular type of document that you are trying to access. You can additionally look up certain parties too, see what arguments they've made in particular, right? Like with opposing law firms, you can go look up, Louis Brisbois and motion for summary judgment and negligence and statute of limitations, right? See what arguments they're making, decide if you want to differentiate them from your own, or if you want to go ahead and use them as a motion bank. Works for individual attorneys and overall law firms as well. All right. So strategic research, uncovering information hidden within the text of rulings and filed documents. We just looked at using Trellis for assistance with drafting motions. What other elements of strategic research can be assisted, right? Like I said earlier, you can look into experts, whether they're your experts or opposing counsel experts. Look at how they've been impeached in the past. You can look into settlement data to the extent this information is divulged in court filings. If it's divulged in a court filing, we're going to have access to it on Trellis. There are a lot of good documents that might divulge settlement level information, right? Typically, settlement level information is not going to be filed with the court, but if it is filed there, like I said, we're going to have access to it. So we just need to get a bit creative in figuring out what particular documents are going to give us access to this. Some examples that I can think of would be, as we can see here, good faith settlements, motions for good faith settlement, sometimes motions for attorney's fees will give us access and insight into this level of data. Offers filed with the court, stipulations regarding settlements will sometimes be filed with the court, stipulated judgments, right? Same thing with verdict data. Every jurisdiction might have different forms that show verdict data. We just need to run a search on Trellis and dig into that particular document type. So for instance, we're looking up settlement related data. We can look up, motion, good faith settlement here, and then throw a proximity connector on there, right? Because sometimes these words will be a bit disjointed. Sometimes the court will throw wrinkles in there, or they'll be presented by the parties differently, right? So we just throw a tilde 10 on there just to make sure it's around the same sentence of itself, right? We can look that up, or, motion attorney fees. Throw a tilde on there, 10, or stipulated judgments, right? Do that. And then, so with all this in a parenthetical, just for an example, you can absolutely build this out even more. And then we'll go ahead and we'll say, Lewis Brisbois, right? You can go ahead, run this search, get access to their settlement related data. Look in the documents tab, see what's coming up, see what proffers you'd like to go ahead and emulate, see if you can try to find some trends in there that will be helpful. Additionally, if you wanted, you could throw in a particular practice area onto this. You can use the filters I discussed earlier with practice area matter type filters and really drill down into the specifics of what you're looking for, right? You can add in here if you wanted, you could throw in automobile, you could throw in any keywords that may make this more relevant to your particular search needs. All right. Now, when it comes to looking up verdict data, as I was just mentioning, right? You can look up, of course, Lewis Brisbois, and then we just have to be creative with what particular documents and what keywords are going to trigger those documents for that verdict data, right? Look up Lewis Brisbois and what are two document types that may pop up: verdict form or verdict sheet, right? We can go ahead, we can look up this level of information, see what their cases are, see how their cases are being disposed of. And if we'd like, again, we can add in particular legal issues, we can add in particular practice areas, matter types, anything really with these filters or with our keywords in the smart search bar. Last but not least, we can go in and we can look up expert witness information, right? Just have to think of the keyword that are going to give us access to the type of document that we're looking for, right? Look up Lewis Brisbois and we can just look up, if you want, you can just leave it as expert witness, just throw that in there. You're going to get a lot of requests for admissions, right? For looking in the documents tab itself, but you're also going to see access to what? To expert witness disclosure forms, right? So we can go ahead and we can drill down even further, add in expert witness disclosure or anything else that may be relevant in your particular jurisdiction where you're going to see which particular expert witnesses are being brought in. And then from there, you can decide if you want to research further, how they've been impeached or how they've been defended, what arguments the judge finds persuasive and effective, or you can, if you're just doing research to find expert witnesses to take on yourself, this is a great way of evaluating them and taking them on. All right. So from here, those are three main use cases. But of course, you can look up, like we said, just to recap, you can look up motions. If you want to use this as a motion bank, you can look up verdicts. You can look up settlement data. You can look up experts. All of this data is very readily available. You can absolutely use this for a lot of other use cases as well. Just have to be creative. We have the data. Just have to look for it. All right. An example of a particular document that you can go about looking up for, a motion for approval of class action settlement. All right. More access to that settlement related data. All right. Section 4 ordinarily is alerts. But like I said, with your particular account, it is a shared account. So there will not be access to alerts at this time. All right. So at this time, go ahead and go to our Q&A. If anybody has any questions, we can go ahead and get started. All right. I'll take that silence to mean no questions as of right now. All right, perfect. JC, anything else that you would like to add at this time?
If there are any follow-up questions, you can reach out to the San Diego Law Library, or you can reach out to Steph at Trellis Law as well too.
Okay, thank you. There are a few questions that we have, and one of them is Trellis planning to increase its San Diego database at this time?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, is Trellis planning on increasing its San Diego database at this time? Because I know there's a lot more other counties that have documents. Just wanted to find out if there's going to be more of San Diego Superior Court cases.
Yes, it's always growing. We're adding new cases every day to our database in our crowdsourcing platform for documents. If you're looking up for documents or crowdsourcing, it's always growing.
Thank you. And another, oh, I think I see one here. Wondering if this is the same MCLE. Oh, JC, I think you've got that one.
Sent that one. Will this recording be available to review?
Yes, we do upload our MCLEs onto YouTube. And so you can go to the San Diego Law Library's website. And in the top left-hand corner, it's going to have YouTube. And then you can go to our MCLE page. Let's see. Trying to bear with me here. Okay. So another question. So when a patron's using Trellis and it says that documents are available, but then they try and click it's preview only, is there a way to just filter to just get documents only rather than the preview?
That is a good question. Yes, on the documents tab, on the left-hand side where John was able to display like PAGA, complex, or class action type, there's also a filter on the left-hand side that show high preview documents, just like Sean showing there.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Okay. Oh, there's another question. Who gathers the documents used on Trellis, and does Trellis rely solely on court staff?
Very good question. Yes, so documents are gathered by Trellis and our internal efforts as well too. So if there are documents filed within the cases, we have access to those.
All right, so we still have a few more questions coming in, just because this is a 1 hour CLE here. Bear with us 1 second. Okay, answer live. Okay, another question here. How is Trellis different from searching on a county court website?
You can search across all county court websites, essentially a centralized jurisdiction search across all of them at the same time instead of going to court by court. Also, certain courts will limit you on how you can search, right? You either have to have the case number, the parties involved, have specific logins. Here on Trellis, you can search up by keyword across multiple jurisdictions, counties at the same time, topics, motions, samples, and various different ways that you can search out across all the jurisdictions at the same time.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. I see some more questions coming in here. Bear with me. And the verdict search, in what circumstances, John, I think you might have covered this already, but during the using verdict search, what instances would best benefit attorneys to use that feature?
That's a great question. So yeah, like I said, you can go about looking up verdicts. In terms of the mechanics of it, you can look them up by just looking up the keywords. So look up like the law firm or the attorney name. Then you can look up the keywords that are going to trigger the particular document that you're looking for. So the ones that I'm familiar with that I displayed: verdict form, verdict sheet. In terms of the why behind it, if you just want to get an idea of how their cases are being disposed of, before which judge, what verdict amounts that they are going ahead and procuring for their clients. You can see set client expectations accordingly, set your own expectations. If it's the exact same facts as your case before a particular judge, see how they're going and ruling on these from the bench. A lot of insights can be gleaned from a verdict form, verdict sheet.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. Another question here. How extensive is the database? I know you mentioned that there's not criminal, but there is civil. And in what years would we be able to find documents from? Like, how far does it go back?
In terms of our coverage, we will say at least for the last 2 decades, very confident in having cases on a daily basis. Now, as we continuously aggregate more cases and analytics, there are instances where I've seen cases in California from 1960s, 1970s. But at least a good rule of thumb, we like to say at least from 2005 to present, very accurate in having cases as we continue backfilling a lot of these cases and getting that information on our platform as well too.
Awesome, thank you. And how often is the database updated?
Every day. We get cases every day. So we're pulling cases and updates and having set alerts on some of these cases as well too on a daily basis.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Can you describe Trellis's efforts to work with the counties that don't make their documents easily available?
Sorry, well, can you repeat the question again?
Yeah. Can you describe the efforts that Trellis is doing to work with counties that don't make their documents easily available?
Yeah, of course. There is a physical runner service option that Trellis does offer as well too, where we can go ahead and request documents or case information. I know on the shared user experience, that option is not available, but for Trellis direct subscribers, they do have an option for a runner service.
Perfect, thank you. Question here. Since the majority of the cases are criminal, does Trellis plan to include them in the future?
Question. There's potential of getting it in the future. We don't have a definitive answer of when, but there could be an opportunity based on requests. As John teased out, beginning of next year, we should have federal cases added to our UI as well too, not just state trial court data, but could be a potential in the future that we aggregate data on criminal cases. So no hard no, but there's no definitive answer of yes or we can't.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. Next question. Could you briefly go over the court comparison analytics, the new feature on Trellis, please?
Absolutely.
Thank
Let me
you.
go ahead. Share my screen again. All right, back in here. So it's a great question. Pop up here to our analytics tab, click into court comparison. All right, then we can select our state that we want to analyze, and we can go ahead and look up to 3 counties and compare analytics on them. All right, so we can select our county. I'm just going to pick 3 at random, right? And then we can go ahead, just like we would with our judge analytics, select from our motions tab. What motions do we want to have analyzed, right? Then our outcomes tab, we can decide what outcomes, what practice areas we want to see outcomes data on. And then our case milestones tab, we can decide what case milestones, what timing analyses we want to get access to. And then you just click generate report. We'll send it to you in a PDF to your email inbox. Very simple, very intuitive too. But definitely thank you for prompting me to share it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And so another question that popped up was if there are documents on Trellis, and then later the documents are being sealed. How does Trellis, update their documents once something is later sealed that you guys have?
Very good question. If we get a request on redaction request, on the very bottom of every docket, there will be a redaction request that we can go through and say, hey, this case should be sealed. We will also, as we update cases, in whatever cadence we may have, we will update that and say, hey, this case should be sealed. We may remove it from the database as well too.
Okay,
We're
perfect.
we're very proactive in redaction.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Next question, are there any enhancements in the works for Trellis? If you can share.
Yeah, the very first one that comes to mind will be having federal data on our UI. So that's going to be really soon released, beginning of the year. So instead of searching just on the state trial court, you're going to be able to search up across all of our federal data jurisdictions that will have then as well too.
Awesome, thank you. And another question here. If we use Trellis here at the law library, would we still be able to use the alert function to keep up with a case?
No, as part of the shared user experience, there's no direct login access. So if you don't have an email associated to set those logins, they're all IP authenticated accounts. So individual login accounts, Trellis subscribers, directly non Lawberry accounts have access to alerts. We wouldn't know who to send these emails to, right? If you were to set an alert. So by default, we do disable that.
Perfect, thank you. And I think I see a couple more coming in. Just bear with me here. Okay, another question. So John, in the beginning, you showed how to compare judges. How are there San Diego judges in there? I know you showed one from Kern County. Are there any, are there a lot of San Diego judges, or do you know? Sorry, it's off the top.
Absolutely. No, sorry. I was just looking. I have so many different tabs pulled up, so I was trying to share my screen, make sure I share the right one. All right, so let me go ahead, navigate to our judge analytics, and absolutely, we have access to answer the question. We have access to San Diego judges on the platform.
Perfect.
Just hop in here really briefly. How many we have, though, I don't happen to know, but you can easily just search by your judge name right here in this bar, and you'll be able to find any judges. One other thing I do want to note is by default, this show judge analytics only toggle, that's toggled on by default. Like I said at the very beginning of the presentation, we have to have enough data to be able to give a comprehensive dashboard for your judge. So we have this by default toggled on, right? But let's say you type in a judge's name, it doesn't pop up. For whatever reason, they don't pop up. If they're a recent appointee or such, like I was saying, just toggle this off. We'll see we have 2,100 results. They went up to 3,600 now because of what I said earlier. At a bare minimum, we're going to have that biography, right? So at a bare minimum, we have a biography for those 1,500 judges in California. So by all means, feel free to toggle this off, rerun your search again, just to make sure you've broadened your net entirely to find your judge in whatever county you are looking for.
Perfect. Thank you for that. I do see a couple more coming in here. How does Trellis use AI?
So the basis of smart search, right? When you're searching up a party and a legal issue and a motion type. Smart Search really is using a lot of the technology, scanning through the docket events, the docket entries, pulling results, the motions on the documents tab, on the tenant rulings tab. So in basis, it's using some internal logic in there to classify some of the practice areas. The new trending things is generative AI. We don't have generative AI on our platform as of yet. One full summarization AI tool that does happen, and I've seen it in California, is if you have access to complaints on the docket level themselves, will have a very short snippet of what that case complaint summary entails. And it really depending on what documents we have available for those cases, and if we're able to summarize that.
Awesome, thank you. I think I see one more coming up here. And I did notice that when we do use Trellis at the library, there's, I want to say like a dictionary or thesaurus that kind of, if you're looking up to see what is a motion to dismiss, there's a page. John, do you mind showing
Absolutely.
that, please? Because I think that's a great
Absolutely.
feature.
For sure. Go ahead here. We can navigate to our motions and issues tab right up here. I believe this is what you're referencing. You can see the types of legal motions, administrative arbitration broken down by section. Let's just say we click in here into motions for attorney's fees. All right, what that's going to do is it's going to lay out for us what is a motion for attorney's fees, court's decision. You can see all related documents where there's been motions for attorney's fees or they've been mentioned. You can see useful examples. You can see other related legal topics. Very helpful database, getting acclimated to, particularly if you're in a new jurisdiction or if there's a novel intersectionality of the law that you have not come upon before. Very helpful page on the platform. Thank you, Rian.
You're welcome. Are there any more questions? Okay, I think that's all of the questions we have. So, thank you so very much, John and JC, for being here and presenting today. And thank you so much for the participants who attended today's class. If you would like to use Trellis, we do have the Trellis database here at the law library. And then if you are a part of our borrowers program, you can access Trellis from home. So thank you again, everyone, for participating today, and have a great rest of your day.